Charles, what have you liked so far about the first 2 days of practice?
Well, I really like the way Coach Prime has things set up. I like, the intensity, the playing fast on both sides of the ball. And our offense is going to be a fast tempo team that gives us a lot of advantages practicing against that. And we've got to be a fast defense. So, I really like the way the practices are structured, and, we're getting everything we need out of it.
I know you said earlier when we talked to you last that you guys are really in a learning phase right now, but you're also developing some schemes and getting things done. What's the ratio between implementation and experimentation right now?
More, I would say 90% implementation, maybe 10% experimentation. We're taking guys now on the experiment side. We're moving some guys around at different positions, especially in the secondary, to see what they're, what they can do, what they can handle, how much they can process. And then some of the guys up front, we're moving those. That's more probably the experiment, the experiment part. But right now we're just implementing. Every day we're adding new things, because we got to see also not only how people play, but how they learn, how they can process. Every week, you play 14, 15 games in a year. I mean, you're going to play people that do different things every week. So your scheme has to be a little bit different based off of what you see. So we have to, we have to be able to find people that can adapt to those situations.
A couple weeks back when we went with coaches, Sean Lewis was talking about how he didn't want to watch any film on any of the guys, wanted to kind of come in fresh for spring and evaluate then. Just wondering what your approach has been. Have you been devouring film, or is it also kind of a blank slate out there?
I did before I came. I haven't spent much time since I've been here watching, but before I came out here, I did watch some video just to see. I was just evaluating a little more what personnel was coming back, seeing, what the competition was. But since then, listen, it's what we do now. It's not about the past, it's about, building and, developing. In my mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you played good last year, played bad. It really doesn't matter. I mean, you gotta play forward and play the next play and play the next game. So we got to get that mindset.
I know it's only been 2 days, it's certainly a small sample size, but what have you learned about this defense or this team, or what impressions have they made on you?
Well, in spots, there's some ability out there to make some plays, but we don't do it on a consistent basis. And we've got to learn how to play 60 minutes in a game, and to play intense all the time, to have intensity all the time. And you can't be intense unless you're intentional. I have to have a reason for what I'm doing, and just learning that style of it. But we've got a long way to go before we can say anything. I mean, you can't. Everybody out there has done some nice things, but everybody out there has made some mistakes. But the biggest thing is we have to learn how to play with intensity for 60 minutes.
Just to follow up on that, the football stuff will come, but how would you describe just the athleticism of this group?
Well, I mean, I think, we had some guys, that have come in here that have boosted the athleticism. But I think there's you're constantly evaluating. One thing you're doing in any organization, you're always evaluating, you're always recruiting, and you're always developing. Those three things are critical. So we're doing those things. So a lot of this evaluation, sometimes guys look good when they're running around in shorts, and then all of a sudden you put the pads on and somebody else looks better. So you don't want to jump to conclusions. And I've learned a long time ago, you only make decisions based off the information you have. So we're constantly gathering information.
Coach, you talk about new guys, like you mentioned. How do you see Travis Hunter adapting to a Power 5 level? You've coached elite Power 5 defense. How's he going to adapt?
Listen, I thought Travis Hunter was as good a player coming out of high school as there was in this country. He was as highly recruited as anybody that we recruited. We tried to recruit him in Alabama. They recruited him all over. So he definitely has the ability. I think Travis would probably tell you, when you move to the next level, anytime you move to a different level, all right, you get used to the speed of the game and that happens. I mean, when guys leave here and go to the NFL, that's what happens. But the good players are good players no matter what, no matter where you put them. So, but yeah, I've always thought Travis was an elite talent, and everything I've seen so far, he's working extremely hard.
Is there anything he can't do?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything he can't do. I think it just depends on, what we're asking him to do, and making sure, that he's full speed in everything that we ask him to do.
Coach, what's it like to coach with Sal Sinceri again this year, and what kind of coach is he?
Well, first of all, I mean, you can look at Sal's record. One of the best coaches I've ever worked with. I mean, 2 years ago, he had the best defensive player in America, all right? One of the most dominating, I mean, you think about it, his room that he had while he was the outside backer coach at Alabama possibly had 3 first-rounders in the room. I mean, if you take Drew Sanders, who, went on to Arkansas, but, and then you had Will, then you got Dallas Turner next year. I mean, and then when he and I were together at Florida State, I mean, he's a great football coach, and he's very intense. He's old school, but players have always loved him. They loved his style. They loved the way he coaches. So yes, and he brings a lot to our staff, and we're grateful that he's here.
A little bit along those lines, how much of the spring process is for you to develop working relationships with your fellow coaches, or in some cases get reacquainted with them?
Yes, I think that people think it's just spring practice. Listen, we've been in these meeting rooms since the day after, a couple days after signing day in February. So we've been together for a long time. It's not just starting this week. I really like our staff. I really like the camaraderie that we have. I like all of their, they have great work ethic. They're just sponges. I mean, they want to be here. They want to be successful, and we want to give them the resources to be successful. So but it's been really fun working with these guys. I think we have good relationships. We have fun in the meeting, but we get a lot done. So I'm looking forward to working with these guys a long time.
Certainly sounds like Travis Hunter is going to play both ways next year. How's that process going this spring? Like, what percent is he spending on offense, what percent on defense? And have you ever coached a player who's played both ways, and what does it take to excel?
Yeah, I mean, I've coached some players that have played both ways, and I think for Travis, it's just making sure that, he understands I think the concepts on both sides of the ball. I have no doubt he can do that. I think Coach Prime will manage it like he sees fit, the percentage of time that he spends, with what group. But I've seen guys do it before, and we used to take, and it didn't happen a lot, but when I was at Alabama, Devontae Smith was probably one of our better corners. All right, if you watched him on punt return, all right, he would jam these guys up on the outside. He could play bump and run as good as any, and we always worked him on defense at some point, during the practice. So, yeah, now it was lucky we had a couple other guys that we didn't have to use him, but if we needed to, we would have done it. So, guys they can play both positions, and especially when you're wired the right way. And Travis is definitely wired that way.
Last one for Coach.
Yep.
I know it's been early days, but who so far has stood out to you on the field?
I'm not avoiding the question, okay? I do not want you to think I'm avoiding question. But I honestly think it's too early to take one person and point, because we haven't had a chance to put, pads on. We haven't had a chance to see guys, how they react in other situations. And like I said, you want to make sure that you get all the information before you make decisions. So for me to do that on any specific person right now, a week from now, I'll probably have a little bit better idea than what I have after the second day. But I will say I notice guys like You know, I noticed Shador on offense, just being a defensive guy, he flashes to me because I've been around some really good quarterbacks, all right, in the last 10 years. And, you know, he flashes. You know, now I'm not coaching him, but he's flashing to me. Travis has flashed to me. You know, but, and then defensively, it's just such a work in progress until we got to find the right pieces, and we'll do that. That's what spring's for.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks,
Thank you.
Coach.
Thank you.
Take care.